Okay, and welcome to the University of Lethbridge. Our university's Blackfoot name is Aniskum, meaning Sacred Buffalo Stone. The university is located in traditional Blackfoot Confederacy territory. We honor the Blackfoot people and their traditional ways of knowing and caring for this land, as well as all Indigenous peoples who have helped shape and continue to strengthen our university's community. My name is Hannah Thomas. I am the Graduate Recruitment Officer here at the university, and I'm joined today by a fellow graduate student, Michael Ose. He has completed his master's with us and is currently pursuing his PhD. And today we're here to talk about our Masters of Arts program. So we will just get going. So the Masters of Arts program offers students a wide range of disciplines. It provides them with the opportunity to earn a master's degree by writing a thesis and successfully completing a limited number of courses. The number of courses and details of the courses are determined within the first term of a student's program, and it is something that is planned out in collaboration with your supervisor. We offer 25 majors in our Masters of Arts program. Students may complete their degrees in either a full or part-time capacity. Full-time students complete a 24-month program, while part-time students complete the program within 48 months. Now, part-time students will normally complete all their required coursework in the first 24 months, with the subsequent months committed to continued research and production of the thesis. Full-time students usually focus on their thesis in the first 12 months. That's the first year of the program. Not their thesis, their coursework, and then their thesis in the following years. So for the Masters of Arts program, students are required to complete 3 to 6 graduate term courses, a thesis, and a thesis oral defense. As I mentioned, students do develop their programs in collaboration with their supervisors. And so it is very important that you have a very good idea of what it is that you want to do and work in collaboration with your supervisor to achieve that. Now, the application deadlines for our Masters of Arts program. So we have 2 deadlines for the fall 2025 intake. As you can see, our first deadline was October 1st. So that has passed. And then we have our second deadline, which is January 15th, 2025. If it is that you're interested in starting in our winter term, so that will be January 2026. Our application deadline will be January 15, 2025, and then October 1st for domestic students only. Let's talk a little bit more about the admission requirements. So applicants will meet the following minimum requirements to be considered for admission into a Masters of Arts program. You have to hold a bachelor's degree in a related discipline from a recognized degree granting institution, have a minimum GPA of 3.0 on a 4.0 scale on your last 20 university level graded courses, or if you have already completed a master's, we will be assessing your GPA on your master's degree. All students are required to demonstrate the English language proficiency for the graduate students, as well as you have to secure a supervisor prior to you submitting your application. Now, the only majors that do not require you to have a supervisor prior to your application is our economics major, as well as our dramatic arts major. International applicants must present qualifications comparable to those of a Canadian applicant. And on our website, we have details of what it is that your comparable degree would look like based on the country in which it is that you actually pursued your degree. Now, when you're submitting your application, it will be done 100% online. And you will need to upload and submit your unofficial transcripts, including proof of graduation for your completed degrees and all transcripts of all post-bachelor work that you have done, if any. Now, you will have to arrange to have your official transcript sent to us, and we will require your official transcript prior to your registration. So we do not require your official transcript in order to process your application. We can process your application on the unofficial transcripts, but once it is that you're successful in getting into the program, we will need your official transcripts in order for you to meet the conditions necessary to be a student. We also ask for you to have 3 references, 2 of which must be academic, and you should have studied with at least one of these references. Now, professional references should be an employer or another person who has served in a supervisory capacity, who can testify to your academic ability. Your CV is also something that you'll have to provide, and it is something that should be of a formal structure, showing your academic focus. It should include your background in work, academics, any scholarships or awards or publications, and any other relevant achievements that you may want to highlight. We will also require you to submit a letter of intent, and this is your opportunity to show the program committee your passion for the proposed research that you would like to do and highlight your goals and objectives for seeking a graduate degree in the chosen discipline. Now you have the opportunity to discuss the nature of the proposed research and alignment with your supervisor's expertise, explain how dedicated and invested you are to your proposed graduate program, and provide specific examples of key accomplishments, if any, but be concise and only include important information that the program committee may use to evaluate your application. Your letter of intent should generally be no more than 1 page and up to 500 words. A little bit more about the English language proficiency requirement. So all students are required to meet this requirement, and you can demonstrate this by sufficient demands through either successfully completing a program that was delivered in English from a recognized university in English, or from a country that their primary language is English. On our website, we have more information on that detail. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit more about securing a supervisor, because this is a crucial step in the application process. Now, you have to secure a supervisor prior to you getting into submitting an application. And this is because these programs are thesis-based, which means that the students work closely with their supervisor, and the right fit is essential to the success of you in this program. So it has to be an informed decision that you both and the supervisor decide to work together to help you succeed in the program. So you should begin contacting prospective supervisors as early as possible, so that you can have a response and be able to apply by the deadline. When emailing a supervisor about taking you on as a prospective student, you should include your CV as well as details in your email as to why it is that you want to pursue this program and what makes it a good fit for you, and why this prospective supervisor will be a good fit based off their research expertise. You want to highlight your educational history, your degrees, any academic achievements that may be relevant to the research it is that you're trying to pursue. It is very important for you to familiarize yourself with the work of your prospective supervisor, so that you can show the alignment based off what it is that you're trying to do your research in. Now, how do you apply? As I mentioned, it is important that you figure out which program is the best fit for you. So you do want to do your research. Once it is that you've determined that, and it is a program that does require a supervisor, your next step is to move forward to securing a supervisor. followed by preparing your supporting documents. So you want to arrange for your transcripts, have your 3 references, also your CV, make sure you meet the English language proficiency. Once you have all those, you can go ahead and submit your application prior to the application deadline and arrange to have the official documents sent for us. Once we've received your application and the application deadline has passed, then usually within 10 weeks, that's when it is that we will process the application and you will receive word from our admissions team as to whether or not you were successful in getting into the program. All right, so I've come to the end of the presentation. And now I'm going to take some questions. So feel free to drop your questions in the Q&A section. If you want to talk, I am more than happy to unmute you if you want to have a conversation about our Masters of Arts programs. So somebody asked, could you explain why the application deadline excludes the dramatic arts, economics, and cultural and social political thought? What are the deadlines for these programs? That's an excellent question. So let me just bring up the application deadline actually, so we can look at it together. And I will also drop the link for the application deadline in the chat for you so you can access that as well. So let me start by dropping the link first. So that is a link, and then I will go ahead and share my screen with you so we can take a look more at the application deadline. Okay, so the question was the economics, cultural, and social and political thought. Were those excluded? So for the fall deadline, that's if it is that you're interested in starting in September 2025. If it is that you're interested in doing economics, you only have one application deadline, which is January 15th, versus all the other majors you had 2 application deadline, which was October 1st and January 15th. So that's the major difference. Now, the cultural, social, and political thought does fall under all other majors. So you would still be doing the application deadline October 1st or January 15th. The other program you mentioned, dramatic arts, you only have one application deadline, which is January 15th. So that's the major differences in terms of why the deadlines are different. So most majors give you 2 opportunities in terms of 2 deadlines, but these specific majors only allow you to apply once, which is January 15th. All right, somebody asked, is the 3.0 GPA a hard requirement? Is work experience taken into account? That is an excellent question. What I would say is that when you are starting your conversation with your prospective supervisor, they usually at some point in time want to talk about what your coursework history looks like. So what your previous undergraduate degree looked like. And if it is that your GPA is, say, for example, like a 2.0, that's a hard no. From time to time, depending on what your circumstances might be, I have seen where supervisors have taken on students with like a 2.9 GPA or 2.8. I will say we are assessing your last 20 graded courses. So we do that calculation based on our 4.0 scale. So it's very difficult for students to know, predetermine what their GPA is. You can have a general idea. So if you know that your last 20 graded courses, your estimate GPA is a 3.0, but it may fall short, You just be upfront with your potential supervisor and let them know. And if it is that they're willing to still support your application at that point in time, then they will let you know. But I've seen where students have gotten in with a 2.9, sometimes even a 2.8, but it all depends on the circumstances. So I will definitely say this conversation is something that you should definitely have with your prospective supervisor to see if they will be willing to take you on with a GPA that is below. Obviously, it can't be way below. So I'm going to say 2.8 is like the hard line. If you're below a 2.8, then there's no leeway left. So you have to ensure that you are at least above that. Then you may want to consider doing upgrades if you're below that. Okay, somebody asks, can I apply for a second master's degree at your university? Yes, if you already have a master's degree and you would like to pursue another master's degree, of course, you are more than welcome to apply for another master's degree with us. If it is that you want to pursue research and the same level of research that you did or in your previous master's degree, you may want to consider a PhD. If you don't want to do a PhD, then that's okay, but you can definitely apply for another master's degree. We have students that are on their second master's degree that are with us, so that's definitely an option for you. Yeah, so I think I've answered. Does anybody else has any more questions? I'd be more than happy to answer them as we go along. Is anybody here currently thinking about applying for a Masters of Arts program with our university? Oh, Emmanuel, I see that you raised your hand. I am going to go ahead and allow you to speak. So you just have to unmute and you can talk.
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity. I would like to know what's the tuition for MA Psychology, please?
Sure. So I'll just bring up our Masters of Arts in Psychology tuition sheet and we can take a look at it together. Are you a domestic or international student?
International student.
Okay.
And also, if you can please give me an idea of how much was awarded as funding or scholarship to international students for the most recent academic year. I appreciate that for the same program. Thank you.
Okay. So let me bring up our Masters of Arts tuition schedule. Okay. So this is our tuition schedule for our Masters of Arts program. So regardless of the major, you would be paying these fees. So you mentioned that you are an international student. So as an international student for your first year, which is the first 3 terms. So that's summer, fall, and winter. So for your summer term, you're going to be paying $5,508. And then for your fall and winter term, you're looking at $5,926.93 each term. So if we're going to do like a rough estimate, let's say 6, so that's a 12. And then we add like another 6. Let's just round up to a 6 because depending on each year, there is a little percentage added on. Probably won't reach the 6 for the summer term, but let's just say 18. And this is quoted in Canadian dollars. So approximately $18,000 for the first year, very rough approximate. And then for your second year and beyond, so I say and beyond because it's dependent on when it is that you complete your thesis. You will be paying continued registration fees. So for the fall and winter term, that will always be $2,305.25. And then for the summer term, it's $1,774. Now, graduate students are required to maintain registration for all 3 terms. So even if it is that you are not doing any work in a summer term, you'd still have to pay for the term and maintain that registration. So that's something that you would have to. So a lot of students do try to ensure that they complete on time or as close to on time as possible so that they don't have to continue paying continued registration fees. Now, you also mentioned that you are interested in learning a little bit more about our funding opportunities. So I'm just going to bring up that information and show you where it's available on our website. So this is our graduate student website that we have. And in our funding opportunities, all students, once it is that they have been successfully accepted into a Master's of Arts program or Master's of Science, any Master's program with us, is eligible for the University of Lethbridge Graduate Research Award. So that's our ULGRA award. And at the time of admittance, once you're full-time students, you're evaluated and then you are awarded some amount in this award. Now it ranges. I know students can get as little as $2,000 up to $21,000 per year for this award. A lot of it is dependent on whether or not it is that the supervisor that you're working with has grant funding, and you may be able to receive funding through your supervisor. If your supervisor does not have grant funding, then you may, and you have a really good GPA, the committee may award you more or less depending. But we do have other scholarship opportunities. So this is available on our graduate awards database. So on the database, we have a listing. Oh, that's odd. Let me go back. So on the database, oh, seems like our link went dead for some reason. I'm very sorry about that. So I'm gonna have to report that. But this usually brings out the database that we have that gives you the listing of all the available funding scholarship. So we handle bursaries, scholarships, awards to different students. Unfortunately, the link is not working right now, and I did not know that prior to this webinar. If I had, then I would have tried to get it fixed. I do know that our technical team is doing some upgrades to the website, so that maybe just have been an oversight where the link just died at that point. But I will definitely try and get that up and running for you, Emmanuel. But we do get a lot of funding opportunity given to our students, international and domestic alike. And so it's just a matter of you being able to apply. If you have any questions about any specific funding or awards, you can talk to our graduate funding coordinator through this awards form here, and they will be happy to answer any questions that you may have. What's important to note is that you are only able to access this funding after you've been accepted into the program and not before. So you would have to wait a bit before you get on. So Michael, you wanted to say something?
Yes, Hannah, I wanted to add to what you were saying about the GPA and then the funding. So basically what I know, let me start with the GPA issues. So basically what I know is that the minimum requirement is 3.0. That's the minimum requirement. But however, because you are competing with students from other countries, it's better like you get something extraordinary to be able to stand out in your application. So so if you have 3.0 as your GPA, I would advise that probably you supplement it with something to make it strong. That is where the work experience and other stuffs will come in. And if you have publications, even in your undergrad, like it will serve a lot in securing a potential supervisor, because at the end of the day, supervisor wants someone that they can work with, especially in terms of the research. So then, like, if you have publications, it's sets you on a higher or it sets you apart from other applicants that don't have publications. So doing others to make you stand out with 3.0 GPA is the best. And then with the funding too, what I can say is that aside the internal funding, we also have external funding that you can also look for. And that one also comes with the GPA. So then that is where the GPA also comes in. I think the minimum requirement to get a funding is from 3.6 GPA upwards to 4.0. So then the GPA also count in terms of getting funding, especially for your studies.
Thanks so much for that, Michael. Do you want to talk, because you've received funding, right? Do you want to talk a little bit about the funding you have received in both your programs?
Okay, so then the funding that I received were the internal funding, and it has to do with the funding that my supervisor provides. So basically, if a supervisor accepts you into his or her research, they mostly have funding for the particular research they are doing. So then you get some stipends from it, and then the university also accepts students into a graduate teaching assistantship position or a graduate research assistantship position, which you do, which is also a work that the university gives you. And this all falls within the package of getting something as your stipend aside with your what your supervisor is giving you. So then and all these things are awarded based on your GPA. So then in terms of getting funding, the GPA is the key. You should get minimum of 3.6 upwards to 4.0. That is what sets you apart to receive the funding from the university. So then I would say if you are getting if you want to get funding, the GPA must be the focus. And then as Hannah said, the GPA that we focus on is your last 20 credits that you received from the university at the end of your studies. So then that is what the university processed, and then do see whether you have a strong GPA to be able to get the funding that they do offer. So then basically what helped me was the GPA. So then I will encourage any student to try and then get a better GPA from 3.5 upwards going to be able to get the funding that the university offer.
Thanks, Michael. Emmanuel, did that help you out in any way?
Yes, to a large extent. But then I know GRE or GMAT scores are not required. But if one has it, to what extent does that also improve on one's ability to get funding? Thank you.
Yeah, so it's not required, but it definitely does help in terms of when the program committee is evaluating your application. If you received really good scores in those assessment tests, then it will definitely, especially if your GPA is not as strong, but you did really well in either the GRE or the GMAT, that does help in terms of getting you consideration for funding as well. So if you have done those examinations and you do have a good score, I would say definitely include it. If it's not a good score, it's not really going to help you. But having a good score does help 100%.
And
Right.
if I may do a follow-up, what was the average score, GRE score for students that apply for your programs?
Yeah, as I mentioned, it's not a requirement. So we don't really keep a record or an average of what the GRE scores are. We only require a GMAT score for our Masters of Science in Management program. and that the minimum requirement for that is 565 on the Focus edition. But for the GRE, we don't, that's like case by case analysis. So the program committee only assess based off that specific situation. So in terms of like an average, we don't have one. For the GPA, as Michael mentioned, anybody with a 3.6 and higher usually receives funding.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Richmond, I'm going to allow you to speak. And you just have to unmute Richmond and go ahead and talk. Are you able to hear us? Okay, while Richmond is trying to get connected, I'll just go back to the Q&A and answer some more questions. So somebody asks, what GPA will be evaluated if I apply for second master's, either my bachelor or master's degree? So we will be evaluating your most recent academic accreditation. So it will be your master's degree that we're going to be assessing to determine what your GPA is. Another question is, I have studied in agricultural sciences, but most of the time I was engaged in business organizations, approximately more than 17 years. Am I eligible to apply for the Masters of Science in Management, specifically the Business Analytics program? Yes, you are eligible to apply for a Business Analytics program. That program is open to all students, regardless of the field that they did their undergraduate in. So if it is that you're interested in pursuing business analytics, please, once you have completed your GMAT, you have to get a score more than 565 on the Focus edition. You can definitely apply. We're actually having a webinar specifically about our Masters of Science in Management. So feel free to register for that one. We'll have our dean talking more about that program. So if you're interested in the business analytics program, definitely come back to that webinar. If somebody else is asked, if you cannot know if you have access to funding until after you confirm acceptance, how will you be able to make an informed decision about if attending this program is affordable? Did I misunderstand? Are graduate awards amounts not sent with an offer of admission? Thank you for clarifying. Okay, that's a great question. So for our Graduate Research Award, you're immediately notified in your letter of acceptance, in your offer letter, in terms of the amount of award you're receiving through that admission award, as well as for any other grants. So if, for example, your supervisor has research grants that gives funding, they will also let you know that in your offer letter as well. If your supervisor wants you to be a graduate assistant or a teaching assistant or a research assistant, they will let you know that in your offer letter as well. If they want to provide you with any specific stipend or any amounts, they will let you know. So any awards or scholarships that you're going to get upfront that you don't have to personally apply for, you will be informed of that in your offer letter. Now, the other awards and scholarships that we offer are ones that you have to personally apply for. So you have to go online and complete the application. Those are what you will do after you have been accepted into the program. But upfront, you will be made aware of any award or scholarship that you automatically qualify for, and it will be on your offer letter. Somebody said, if that's true, I won't even bother. Oh, okay. So I guess they're asking about if whether or not it is that you can get the funding upfront. Yeah. So once it is that you, so like, for example, students that have a 3.6 GPA and higher, they often, and I've never seen anybody that has not have received upfront funding, and they were notified in their offer letter of the funding that they're going to receive. Richmond, do you want to try and see if you'll be able to talk again? And feel free to drop any additional questions that you might have in the Q&A.
Yeah, I think what I want to
Hi.
say, yeah, I've sent it to you during the question and answer section.
I'm sorry, repeat. I didn't quite hear you, Richmond. Oh, you dropped it in the question. Does the Masters of Fine Arts Art program waive application fees? So unfortunately, we don't waive application fees for any of our programs. So if it is that you will have to pay the application fee to submit your application. So the application fee is not waived. So I believe it's 140 for international students, if I'm correct, and 125 for domestic students. Somebody asked, can I apply for more than one program at the same time? You can only apply for one program at a time. So at the graduate level, unlike undergraduate, you can't apply for multiple programs. You can only apply for one program at a time. Does anybody else have any additional questions? So if it is that you're not meeting the GPA requirement, you may want to consider doing some upgrades, as Michael mentioned. Like, it's important that you give yourself the best opportunity that you can manage, especially if it is that you want to pursue a thesis-based program. So you want to ensure that you have access to all the funding, all the scholarships that we can offer, and a lot of those are tied to a GPA. So if you can't meet the 3.0, it's going to be very hard for you to be able to meet anything above that, right? So does anybody have any more questions for me? Again, we don't have an application fee waiver option. All students are required to pay the application fee in order to apply. So you have a 3.2 GPA. What are my chances of getting admission and scholarship? So we are assessing your last 20 graded courses. If you're thinking the 3.2, is that your cumulative GPA, as in your overall GPA of your undergraduate degree, or is that only on your last 20 graded courses? So that's something that you have to distinguish. If it is only on your last 20 graded courses, once you're able to secure a supervisor for the major that you're interested in, then you definitely will get admission into the program with a 3.2 on your last 20 graded. In terms of scholarship opportunities, you may want to check out our website to get more information about scholarships that have like a 3.0 GPA limit. Very few do. Most have like a minimum 3.5, but you do have opportunities to work. So we have a graduate assistantship program where students can work at the university while they're completing their master's degree with us. And so it's not going to be a teaching assistant. You would be working in other different departments throughout the university. So we have graduate assistants that work with the School of Graduate Studies. We have students like Michael that works with the School of Graduate Studies that assist to recruit other students as well. We have students that work in like the registrar's office that does research. We have students that work with our Dillon School of Business that does research. And this is all through our graduate assistantship program, which is not tied to a GPA. So that's something that you can definitely pursue to assist you financially while doing the program. That's something you would have to apply for on your own too. Okay, so you said your overall undergraduate GPA is 3.2. Yeah, so we would have to calculate to see what your last 20 graded courses will be to determine. It depends also on the country in which that you did your degree in. So that will also play a factor to know what the GPA equivalency would be as well. Yeah, does anybody else have any additional questions? So Michael, you are working both as a teaching assistant as well as a graduate assistant. Do you want to talk a little bit about your experience?
Okay,
Oh.
so I would want to say something about my experience, especially as an international student when I started working as a teaching assistant. So let me start from the challenges and then how if you get in, how you'll be able to overcome. One of the challenge has to do with the language challenge, and especially like how to communicate to the level of the understanding of the students. So then I kind of faced that challenge when I started, but as time went on, I was able to overcome those challenges and then got the students to be engaged. So then that is one of the challenge that you face as an international student. And I think it's a nice experience because it's like you are now teaching different kind of people, and then it's like different environments, and then like trying to also impart your knowledge to the younger generation. So it's a nice experience, but especially how to integrate into the system is one of the challenges that you face, and you should be able to adapt to the system quickly. Yeah, so one thing is adaptation. So aside that, I think yeah, there is nothing else to expect. Yeah, especially if you get in. Yeah, and then my experience as a research assistant is that you should be able to everything has to do with perseverance, because let me give this advice. Research is a little bit different from undergrad or undergraduate studies, because with research, you are kind of like reading papers, and then the papers that you're reading are written to the standard of those who are already in the field. But for undergrad, you kind of read textbooks which are written for everyone to understand. So with the research, you come across with a lot of things that you haven't learned, and then you need to quickly like go and then study all those stuffs, and then you kind of like also you see that there is also no time for you. So to be able to balance time and then get stuffs done within the time frame is also something that you should consider. So then I think these are some of the challenges that you also face when you're doing a thesis-based program. So you should also see how you'll be able to regulate your time well, especially when it comes to the thesis program. Yeah, and yeah, so I think with this, it's a nice experience, and I will encourage everybody to be able to pursue a thesis-based program, because it's kind of widen your scope of knowledge, and then it can also increase your intellect, and then it kind of increase your knowledge, because you'll be able to get the chance to learn more, and then things beyond what you were taught even undergrad. So I'll advise everybody to look into that. So then that is my experience so far as an international student ever since I came from me too. I'm from Ghana. I've seen that once applicant was asking a question, and then he was like, he's from Ghana. I'm also from Ghana. I completed K University 2019, and then Yeah, so Kinvest is one of the popular investors in Ghana. Yeah, so so I will advise you that you should consider that graduate studies is a nice experience, and it will help you in your career in everywhere you go. So that is my experience, and then why I also encourage graduate studies. So then, so the most important thing is what we are discussing today, that is securing a potential supervisor. So then, I think with that one too, we have the positive and the negative side. So then you should make sure that aside you having interest in the supervisors program, you have to also know that whether you also click with a supervisor on a personal level. That one has to do with a personal level. So then I'll advise that you also look into all of these, like especially you can go to you can see the supervisors and then the research that they do, and then make sure that most supervisors schedule Zoom meeting with you to discuss with you on how, like, whether they are interested with you or not. So then you should take notice of all those things and then see if you're interested, and then like it will help you, because if you're able to secure potential supervisor, your supervisor will be like someone who will guide you to even into your career, and then like even into, because for instance, I do have conversation with my supervisor about the career in my field, and then she having access to other companies and then other professors, she's able to provide me with insight and then things that I can do with my field. So then I think a lot of things that you can also learn from your supervisor. So I think that with the thesis program, aside working in the field, like in terms of getting a career path on other stuff, your supervisor too can help and then do give you suggestion. And even if your supervisor has links, he can even quickly connect you to people in that field, and then it will help you a lot as in getting a job or getting something to do after your career, after your studies. So I would advise that you should take this webinar and then the information you've learned here serious, and then work towards it, and it will serve as a it will help you a lot in your journey to the graduate studies.
Thanks, Michael. I just wanted to go back to, I answered the question in the chat, but for students that are from Ghana, you do have to complete a 4-year bachelor's degree with a minimum second class honors upper division. So that is what we need. That will be comparative to a 3.0 GPA on a 4-point scale in Canada. So once it is that you have a 4-year bachelor's degree with a upper second class honors, then you would be eligible for the program. Now, somebody asked, in terms of housing as an international student, what housing are available on and off campus, and what is the least to pay for housing, in addition to how high or low is the standard of living? So these are excellent questions. So first of all, students are eligible to have housing on campus. So master's graduate students can get housing on campus, but I would say more often than not, they opt to live off campus. So in terms of the city of Lethbridge is a university city. So we have a university as well as a college. So availability of housing and being able to access housing is something that you can easily get. I know students from the past were able to secure housing before even landing in Canada. So they were able to do that. In terms of the cost, I think Michael will be better able to answer the question in terms of rent and how much it is that he's paying and what that looks like, and just talk a little bit more about your process of securing the housing, Michael.
Okay, so with the securing of the houses, there are 2 sites. You can use either Facebook Market to search for house, but especially if you are not in Europe, or if you are from Africa, you wouldn't be able to use the Facebook Market. So basically what you have to do is that you have to go to Kijiji. So I think I will type it into this thing. So you can go to Kijiji. So you can go to kijiji.com, and then you'll be able to get the houses here. So mostly for the houses, think when I came here at first, like it depends on the kind of house you want. So especially if you looking for maybe a place that you can share with bathroom, and then maybe the living room and then the kitchen with people, you should target around $500 to $600, or up to $700. So depending on the range, so from $500 to $700, you should suggest. But looking at how things are getting, the prices are getting increased, so I would suggest that you should target around 600 upwards. So from next year, I think it will be better you target around 600 upwards, but it's still possible to get something below 600, but it's not that easy. So you can search on the website Kijiji, and then well, so that is what I can say about the housing. So if you go to the kijiji.com and then search about Lethbridge, and then houses close to the university. So I would advise that when you come in new as an international student, you shouldn't look for somewhere far from the university. You should look for something close to the university, so that you be able to integrate yourself, so that maybe after the next semester, if you're able to get yourself a car, and then you know the city really well, then you can go far from the university. But when you come in afresh as an international student, I would advise that you get a place close to the university, and you'll be able to get some at a cheaper price, like $600 upwards. Yes, so then that is my advice on the housing. And then make sure that you check the house before you check the place before you make payment of the deposit. So with the housing, how the payment goes is like this, especially in Lethbridge here, or in Abera, how it goes is like this. You have to pay the deposit. So you pay the deposit, and then you pay your first rent. So unlike Ghana, for instance, Ghana, you can rent 2 years advance, and then you pay your 2 years, you pay everything in bulk, like 2 years, and then like you wouldn't pay anything again until your 2 years up. But here you have to be paying monthly. That's the difference. You have to be paying monthly every month. And then I think I checked their policy, and then you can pay at most 6 months advance. But because we've been international students, and then we don't have that money to be paying house, like especially 6 months upfront, like we mostly pay monthly, every month you pay. So then that's the difference. So for instance, when you are moving in, especially if the house costs 600, and then the deposit is also 600, then the first time you're moving in, you have to pay around 1,200 before you be able to move in. And then the following month, you'll be paying 600 every month, 600 every month. And then when it is time for you to leave, then you will be able to get your deposit back. So that is, the deposit is something that they collect in case you spoil something in the house. They will be able to use it to fix and other stuffs. But if nothing gets spoiled in the house, then the deposit will be refunded back to you. But mostly, like, one trick is that I want people to be aware of, because when it happened to me, I didn't understand until I got to know that that's how it's done in Canada. Though you pay the deposit $600, but when you're leaving, they will tell you they have deep carpet cleaning. So they will deduct, they will subtract something from the deposit. So whether you got something spot in the place or nothing got spots, like the deep carpet cleaning, like which will cost around $50 to $100, will be deducted from your deposit, irrespective of that. So like, I want you to understand that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. In terms of, a lot of people don't realize that you have to pay 2 months upfront and then still pay your immediate rent after, as well as they do take money out of your deposit, regardless of how clean you keep the place, just for maintenance. So you are required to like give money if they want to paint or they want to clean the carpet, that kind of thing, they will still take it out. But I've dropped in the chat for everyone the link to Kijiji, as well as the link to on-campus housing as well as off-campus housing. Feel free to check them out. We do try to provide a lot of information for our students, especially our international students. And our international center actually is a really good place if it is that you have any questions about relocating and need any assistance. So I will also drop the link to our international center as well. They do a lot of webinars. They do a lot of workshops to help students assimilate. They assist you from it is that you have been accepted into the program with your study permit application to come in here. They assist you with that whole process. And when you get here, they assist you in terms of ensuring that you are okay and that everything, obviously you have to secure the housing on your own, but they do their best to help you out as much as possible to ensure that you feel comfortable in doing so. So yeah, we've come to an end. Thank you all so much for joining us today. I hope this session was very helpful to you. If you have any additional questions, feel free to reach out to us. I will drop the link to our contact us form in the chat. So if you have any question, you can contact us here and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have. This is a part of a series of webinars that we're having. So if you're interested in any other programs other than the Masters of Arts, we have other webinars that are going on. So feel free to join those if you want to, as well as just send us an email if you have any concerns or questions or just trying to figure out how things work. I will let them know that the link for the awards page is not working, and hopefully we can have that resolved as quickly as possible so you are able to see all the funding opportunities that we have for our students. But if it is that you have any specific questions about that as well, feel free to reach out to us and we'll be more than happy to assist you with those. But thank you all so much for joining us this afternoon. We appreciate you taking the time, and we wish you all the best on your graduate studies journey and hope that you choose us as your institution to pursue your master's program with us. So have a great evening, everyone. Bye.